Another day in the NBA here, and this one's already looking pretty chaotic. Giannis ruled out right before the show. Cade Cunningham Q tag. We got Ja Morant Q tag. Jonathan Kuminga Q tag. That doesn't matter that much, but the prep work still goes on as it always does for our Wednesday main event of the week. We got $5 entry fees, 100K up top on DraftKings. We're going to start the work by looking at my data, comparing my projections to our friends over at Stokastic. Let's see what the industry leader thinks versus my data, this mom and pop shop of NBA data that I do for myself here. Of course, we'll check ownership as well. We'll see what the best plays are, the best value plays are. We'll take a game-by-game view, try to figure out the various injury what-ifs that we have on tonight's slate. We'll run a sim on Stokastic without my data involved. And by the end of this video, you're going to know all your NBA must plays for today, November 12th. Along with my splash plays. So let's get into it here. It's funny, yesterday I did the Stokastic Deeper Dive show, mentioned with my pal Josh Engelman that I consider the Wednesday slate for me in the NBA week. I think that's like the main event of the week because excuse me, you have the cheapest tournament out there with shot to win the big money. That as a result means that we do get a few more viewers on Wednesdays usually. And I also feel like for me, the most hope on a Wednesday normally. But with this one here, you can tell for the teams, it is not the main event of the week. They are, in fact, seemingly not trying very much. Crazy day loading. Yes, let's see how that goes. I'm also, for you guys out there that are longtime Splash Play viewers, I am cautiously optimistic that I might have fixed the audio video sync issue, updated all my drivers, uninstalled and reinstalled all my audio and video software. It looked good on Stokastic stream yesterday on Firefox, so I am praying we are looking good and not like a kung fu movie here on YouTube like it's been with StreamYard the last month or so, driving me insane. So let's keep our fingers crossed in a lot of different ways. Today's slate, though, we don't have to keep our fingers crossed for Nikola Jokic, who is now a 13K price player on the DraftKings late slate today. 64.5 is my projection, still a 5X value with that incredibly expensive salary for Jokic. Jokic, if you are playing that late slate, you know the deal, especially if you're only playing a showdown. The upside is the biggest you're going to have anybody playing in that game today for Denver, but also for Jokic, he will certainly be the player that everybody tries to cram in, so keep that in mind whenever you are on a Jokic slate. But for Jokic, top projected guy here by literally 11 fantasy points right now, at least until we get, well, some more players rolled out, all that. Victor Wembanyama, though, for our main slate here, I have him at a 53.4 projection. Stokastic has him for 56. Right now, it looks like for San Antonio, you have Stephon Castle keeping a good amount of the usage that he's had for himself this year. Still holding steady at a 25.8% usage rate. De'Aaron Fox at 25.4. As I mentioned a few times, San Antonio on the slate, even with Dylan Harper out right now, you still have a lot of guys that are trying to get their own shots up. In Castle and Fox, you still have Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, even Jeremy Sohan. These also ran guys who previously in other years for the Spurs have gotten a lot of shots up. This year, they're seemingly limited to under 20%. But the point is for Giannis, or no, for Wemby here, on a slate without Giannis, we like to go there because he's your pay-up option you get to. And especially if Cade's rolled out here, he would literally be our only guy above 10K that's playable on the slate. But because Wemby is having so many guys around him that take usage away, that get shots up, against Golden State as well, a team that definitely not looking the best of form right now. It feels like a spot that a lot of guys can get their shot against Golden State here on San Antonio. So for Wemby, if you don't have Giannis in today, which we don't, if you don't have Cade in, which we might not, and it seems like it's going to be the case after Cade and Duren both missed shoot around for Detroit, I think you end up playing Wemby more than you probably should relative to projection, but he will be your top projected player and literally potentially your only star on the slate if we do get Cade ruled out. Cade right now, a guy that I don't think you can quantify. I believe the final number was 46 field goal attempts for Cade Cunningham last game, of which he made 14 of them. And just for the sake of accuracy here, because we do like to not misquote numbers, I want to make sure that I did save that correctly in my brain. No, you know what? 14 of 45. Maybe one of them was a heave. 14 of 45, 2 for 11 3-point shooting, but got the triple-double, 12 rebounds, 11 assists. 46 minutes in that game versus the Wizards, or 46 points rather in 45 minutes in that game versus the Wizards. Cade Cunningham shot an unbelievable amount of times. But that's sort of what happens for Detroit when you have Tobias Harris out, when you have Asar Thompson out, when you have Malik Beasley not on the team anymore. You have a lot of guys that for Detroit that even Schroeder last year who had a meaningful role. Marcus Sasser, he's a guy that also has gotten shots for Detroit. He's not available. you ended up with a spot where just Cade Cunningham shot endlessly, endlessly, endlessly. And now I think he's probably not going to play today. So if he does play, the opportunity's there for him in a huge way because of the fact they are playing Chicago, a pace up spot. Chicago, one of the fastest paced teams in the league at 102.5, excuse me, not 120, 102.5 pace for them. Chicago's defense also not particularly good. So Cade would be a good play if he's in, whatever the projection is. It honestly might not matter for Cade at this point, but only 10% expected ownership for Cade. Again, this is before the data updated for Giannis being ruled out. That's not reflected yet in the ownership or in Stokastic's projections. But Cade would have been a good play. My assumption, though, is that he and Duran, who is a downgrade to questionable and did miss shoot around today, I think both these guys not going to go. Milwaukee, Charlotte, Detroit shaping up to be a lot of value. I like these slates a lot. It does feel to me crazy. And honestly, this NBA season so far, where we're about 3 weeks in, it feels more like a late NBA season than ever with the amount of injuries we've had. And this slate where you have seemingly a couple teams that might just be phoning it in, mostly. It's a lot of guys missing on today's slate. So definitely watch the data as it updates, whether you're using my projections, of course, you get by joining the Squirt Squad tiers of this YouTube channel, and if you're on Twitter, go to YouTube and then you can join there. No way to do it via Twitter right now. Or, basically we're going to have a slate where you need to just keep an eye on everything throughout the day because starters are going to matter a lot. Milwaukee, I think they could go a couple different ways. We'll talk about that when we get there. For Detroit, if you get Cade and Duran out, it's going to be Paul Reed massively, but then you also have a bunch of guys who look infinitely better because Cade Cunningham's been killing about 80% of the possessions when he's on the court, and Duran's been great too. There's a lot of things as of doing a show today that are still very much up in the air at 2:08 p.m. on the East Coast right now. James Harden, again, your Denver late game, 50-point projection for me. No Kawhi. It's a big thing for Harden. 9,500, a little bit cheap, too cheap for Harden as well. And they're not playing in Denver, so Harden, any sort of cardio concerns you might have from an altitude would not be there today. But he's not on the slate. I'm playing, so I don't care that much. Jalen Duran, if he goes, if you get Cade out, the projection is going to get even higher. Really for Duran, last time out for him, he looked like mega chalk. He was mega chalk. He also had a pretty good projection on him that he fell, I'd say, a little bit short of. I think you would have projected him, and I had him about mid to high 40s. He ended up being, ended up just shy of 40 fantasy points in that last game for Jalen Duran. And if I misquote something off the top of my head, bear with me, guys, but it was in that range of like high 30s, low 40s. It was not quite enough to feel great about him being the super chalk that he was. I believe Sarr might have outscored him. But for Jalen Duran, the big thing for right now is if he plays and Cade is out, he's a great play. If he plays and Cade is in, he's also a great play. If both guys are out, Paul Reed is going to be your value play of the day at 3,300 on DraftKings. And if he doesn't play the minutes, if he somehow gets in foul trouble or something, you probably get Tolu Smith playing meaningful minutes. He has been a demon whenever he has played, which is not very much. But Tolu Smith averages, just this year, he's only played like a few minutes. 2.9 fantasy points a minute is what Tolu Smith averages this year. Going back to last year, 2.3 fantasy points per minute. So Paul Reed and Tolu Smith, if you get Duran out, I think are players that matter. They could do some weird shit too. They could go small, given the fact that against Chicago, you're playing Jalen Smith and Nikola Vucevic, not guys you're super worried about. But those guys look better too, because if Detroit doesn't have Duran, the center rotation without Isaiah Stewart, by the way, is also doubtful. It's just a mess right now, as the slate really is. Smash that like button. Yes, please. It is a tough one. And we're still out of bagels in the house because, again, I'm not going grocery shopping. We're in a standoff. Nobody wants to go grocery shopping. We have Texas toast today, so I have some carbs within me. I appreciate the sentiment, though. People know I get hangry if I don't have some sort of carbohydrates in me before the 2 p.m. stream here. Josh Giddey. Another Q tag for him today. With the Detroit guys being downgraded, I think the shot of Giddey being ruled out probably increases a little bit. But Giddey in his spot, 9,700, if he plays a depleted Detroit team or even one with Cade and Duran in, I think Giddey's still a fine play, especially if we do get Cade Cunningham ruled out. At that point, it's either paying up for Wemby, paying up for Şengün, Giddey, Devin Booker. Not a lot of guys in the slate you can pay for and spend that money that you'll have so much money to go around for with all the value. So for Josh Giddey, always projects well for me, 47 fantasy points today. But as of before, all the stuff, crazy shit happening, getting Josh Giddey at only 5% for the field, I got him at 3%. So even with me projecting Giddey higher, I'm just not getting there right now in the current configuration with these Detroit guys in and Milwaukee not updated as fully as it can be. Şengün, 17% ownership for the field. I'm getting him at 17. With Wemby not projecting super well, Şengün at 46 fantasy points. It looks pretty good overall. But really for Şengün, a player that I feel like we have not seen the ceiling super often, and he really hasn't been a chalky play very often. But if he is going to hit that ceiling, going against Washington is one way to do that. He's been a reliable 1.3 fantasy points per minute. Everybody else on the team besides Kevin Durant under 1. So he's really dominating the offense so far. And against Washington, the triple-double should be there for him potentially if he plays enough time on the court and they don't fully get blown out. But I will say for this game, again, same thing like we talked about with Detroit, Washington, the Duran chalk last game. I think going to Alex Sarr, not a crazy thing to do to get leverage against the center that's going to be higher owned. Because Şengün, with the Giannis being ruled out, if Cade Cunningham gets ruled out too, people will pay for Şengün more as a player that already looks somewhat chalky. If you get Alex Sarr outscoring him at $2,000 less, or even, coming close enough in fantasy points, I think that's pretty compelling, and centers do have a little bit more of a push-pull dynamic, kind of like running backs in football, where they can hit in the same game and have a decent fantasy output, but theoretically, if one center hits like a massive ceiling, they're probably taking some rebounds away, might have gotten some blocks, they might have gotten the other center in foul trouble. There's a lot of ways that two centers in the same game don't work out. The fuck is this slate? Jeremy's asking. Yeah, look, it's chaotic, but I think that's where the fun of NBA is. And for me in particular, as you guys know from watching the end of year videos, hopefully last year, I like my projections a lot at the end of the year because I think a lot of things I do with the underlying data does support identifying the best trash guys that come up. And we're going to have some of them we sort by value in a minute here, but we're not there yet. It is a reason, by the way, that DeAndre Hunter is on the thumbnail today. If you don't know who that is, not a guy we're super stoked to play normally, but today I will, even if you won't. Drew Holiday was looking pretty good for me with a 43.7 projection. Stokastic has him at 37.9. Again, a thing that we talk about every video where Stokastic, that longer term sample size, where they devalue some players because of the previous roles, not deliberately or anything, but Drew Holiday in Boston was not the same player that we have this year in Portland so far. Drew Holiday in Portland getting good usage, getting good assist at 36% assist rate, averaging 1.1 fantasy points a minute. For most of his Boston stint, he was hovering around 0.8 to 0.9 fantasy points a minute. So for Drew Holiday, think that we are getting the best version of him right now. That said, I don't know. I end up with a 3x the field stand or more than that because of how the value is going to work out. But I think Drew Holiday has been a very solid play. I would have him neck and neck with Denny Avdia in terms of projection. And I think for these guys, there's something today for the match with Portland, given the fact they are playing New Orleans, and obviously there's pretty big upside. Let's see. Devin Booker here, 2% ownership for the field. I'm getting him at 1%. Booker really hasn't spiked usage in a meaningful enough way with, Kevin Durant, Beal being out of town. Obviously, you had Jalen Green in a little bit, but then you have randomly the Grayson Allen 40-point days. He's not really Booker forcing his shot over and over again the way that I would have thought for a pretty clear runway Phoenix team right now. But Booker at 9,400 is a pay-up option here on a slate where we're going to have fewer than them of ever. So the ceiling for Booker, hard to ignore. I think the ownership comes up a little bit because of lacking Giannis and potentially Cade on the slate, and Duran too. I mean, Duran at 8,300, you'll have the money to afford Booker a little bit more. He's not a particularly compelling play based on the projection. I think the biggest thing that he has going for him is that he's playing Dallas. That should be a competitive spot. Dallas's defense, I would say flat league average overall, giving up 114 points per 100 possessions. The Phoenix just doesn't project that well for me, but I think Booker on a slate where you don't have pay-up options, he should be valid. And Jaylen Brown, 21% ownership for the field. Avdia, we kind of talked about already. 23% ownership for Avdia, 21% for Jaylen Brown here. So these guys coming up a decent amount. I think the Milwaukee stuff opening up, the Cleveland situation as well, that getting a little more solidified. If I had to guess, Avdia and Jaylen Brown come down a little bit. But if you're not paying up, playing guys like Avdia, like Jaylen Brown, definitely the kind of players that you can round out more of a roster with 8K guys, not pay up all the way, and still, if these guys put up a bunch of 50 fantasy point days, that could be what takes you to the top of a tournament. Any concern for how many minutes Bagley ate, or how many bagels you want to eat? I have no concern for either right now. Bagley, why are we worried about Bagley? Do you think Bagley is still on Detroit? Bagley's on Washington. So I'm not sure what the question is, or if we're just doing Bagley bagel wordplay. Appreciate all your information, but we want to know Kitty's dog today. I will tell you, Kitty, my puppy, my 10-month-old puppy as of this month, actually as of 2 days ago, 10 months old. Before the show, I had to update the Giannis stuff, right? Right before that, I had to also pick a dead mouse up that Kitty had eaten. Or was it not eaten? She was chewing on it lightly, but I guess there was a dead field mouse in our backyard, and she was just out there chewing it. And I'm like, what the fuck she's chewing on? Because it doesn't look like a stick. I went over and it's a mouse. So I had to get her to give up the mouse, which is great fun. Then had to actually clean up the mouse myself, and of course, hide it in a garbage bag. Because I'm not going to get wildlife out for a mouse that's this big. But I'll tell you what, man, I don't like dead animals. It was not a casual, relaxing start before the stream. So if I'm talking even faster, it's probably because my adrenaline is high from cleaning up rotting fucking mice. Any concern? Oh, for Sar? No concern for Sar. Sar's going to play like 30 minutes. That's fine. Tyrese Proctor, your value of the day for me. So what stands out for Tyrese Proctor overall? And Kitty's dog of the day would be that dead mouse. I guess would be the main summary as well. For Cleveland here, Tyrese Proctor playing at a 0.7 fantasy point per minute pace so far this year. The very limited sample size, which I think is literally like 100 minutes, not even that. 66 possessions, 31 minutes. So we're talking like the smallest of small sample size stuff for Tyrese Proctor. Court time without Mobley, without Garland, without Donovan Mitchell. Proctor has tried to get a shot up. He's put up a, where'd that usage rate go? Tyrese Proctor's put up a 25.8% usage rate, a 39% assist rate. He's been, out of all the Cleveland guards, the most productive small sample size guard without the legit guards out there for Cleveland. So Proctor, the minutes are not stable here. My assumption is you get Lonzo Ball starting. Lonzo, I don't think can play more than 22 minutes because he hasn't played that since coming back from that little knee flare-up he had or whatever it was where he missed a game. People were trying to play him as a starter before that. Then the minutes the last couple games have been 22 or less. So I think Lonzo starts. He can't play that much. You're going to get Craig Porter Jr. in for some amount. But then besides that, I think you do get Tyrese Proctor in. So Stokastic right now has it for 19.7 minutes. It wouldn't shock me to see Tyrese Proctor get a start or something out of the blue, or they keep Porter Jr. off the bench. Craig Porter Jr., that is. But really, my guess is that Craig Porter Jr. becomes the value chalk. Tyrese Proctor becomes your value pivot. And Lonzo Ball, probably your value trap because of the fact that he can't play more than a certain amount of minutes. And Stokastic right now is giving Lonzo Ball 26.5 minutes. I'm not sure that he can play that much. So there is something weird with Cleveland. You need to know the starters here. The game today for Cleveland tips off at 7:30. So you will miss the first 3 games in the slate, which are also important. You got Milwaukee and Charlotte there, Chicago, Detroit, 2 of our biggest potential value spots. Orlando, New York, rather, is your 3rd game. That one probably doesn't matter that much. But Cleveland, Miami at 7:30. You need to know what's going on here because Porter Jr. starting makes him probably mega chalk. Then that makes Tyrese Proctor the pivot who should get some usage off the bench. But if Porter Jr. doesn't start and it's Lonzo Ball starting, then that means first crack off the bench is probably Porter Jr. Then it's Proctor coming in. What the minute share is might not be high enough for either guy, but they'll both project pretty well. DeAndre Hunter, he is your man in the thumbnail for this reason. Getting 87% of him in my lineups. Fields at 32. Those numbers are going to move around a little bit because of the fact that DeAndre Hunter is currently, he looked like really good value this morning with Milwaukee opening up, Detroit potentially opening up. It's going to change for Hunter. But Hunter, the big thing that stands out for him is that, again, court time without the various key Cavs, and that's going back to last year for DeAndre Hunter after he got traded. He's put up a 34% usage rate. It's only been about 40 minutes, 80 possessions. But Hunter has been gunning more this year. Today, we also need to see Hunter get more usage up. And for Cleveland, I think this is a game that they should be able to be competitive in. It is only a 5.5 point spread going against Cleveland, really high as well, 238.5 total, one of the highest we have on the slate for this game. So Hunter's the guy for me. I'm at a 42.8 projection. Stokastic has him at 36.2. Again, I've got him because of how he's played this year, where he's scoring currently 30 points per 100 possessions. He's got putting up 13 threes per 100 possessions as well. I think there's a lot of upside to DeAndre Hunter here. He also has been a guy historically that he gets some blocks and steals. He's not really doing that this year. But Hunter should be the guy who gets the most usage up on the team. Jared Allen, another guy, gets some more shots up as well. But really, like, Hunter's in the rotation getting shots up when the stars are there. Usually that's the guy that benefits the most when the stars come off. Do I bump who's minutes? Tyrese Proctor's minutes? Yes, his minutes would come up if he started. Hunter going to fake an injury in game watch. I hope not. Need your help at point guard. I would start Suggs out of those two. But, I mean, neither's the most. I mean, Williams not the most appealing. Suggs is okay. Craig Porter Jr., Jalen Suggs, coincidentally coming up next. Jalen Suggs will be very chalky today, or at least was before some of this value stuff opening up. But a 44.5% ownership expected for Suggs. My projection for him is at 31. Stokastic has him at 29.3. Suggs has quietly been the best Magic fantasy player. 1.24 fantasy points a minute this year so far is a little bit better than Banchero at 1.22. It's much better than Franz Wagner at 1.06. Desmond Bane at 0.88. Definitely due to shoot better, but he has not played well so far. And the big thing for Suggs, which I'll show you guys here on the popcorn machine breakdown, which is always an important part of the process. So you can see the rotations here. Actually, that's not. This is the other game. Hold on. You want to go to the previous game where Suggs played versus Boston. Suggs got to 28.7 minutes and closed. So that's a big move upward for Suggs. A guy is producing well already, does add defensive stats, and has been, again, producing well. 33% assist rate for Suggs on the year. He's kind of your main offensive facilitator for Orlando, besides when these guys just kind of slog it out and do ISO ball, which they do love to do with Paolo in particular, and with Franz, and sometimes with Bane. But Suggs, a 22% usage rate, 33% assist rate. I mean, he's your primary guy who's like creating the offense for Orlando. And I think for Suggs, I don't love him as super chalk, given the fact that, the minutes are capped for sure. He's probably not going to get you to 30 minutes today, even though he did hit almost 29 last time out. I think Suggs is a very good play today, and I don't know how much the ownership's going to move, but he was looking like the chalk value of the day before Milwaukee up and whatever happens with Detroit. Craig Porter Jr., again, will look better if he starts. If Lonzo starts, though, Craig Porter Jr., the minutes might look the same. But Porter Jr. at 3,200, Tyrese Proctor at 3K. These guys both have value off the bench because of the fact that Lonzo, I don't think, can play more than 25 is what I'll say. I think Stokastic having him at 27 feels really aggressive for Lonzo Ball. Sam Merrill, another guy who is a big rate winner in the court time without the various Cavs who are going to be unavailable. He has averaged for himself 1.25 fantasy points a minute in court time without the various key Cavs. Sam Merrill, though, a little bit of an unsustainable assist rate there, had a 33% assist rate in court time without the key Cavs. It's only been 115 possessions as well. So shy of the 1,000 we're looking for to have kind of a stable sample size and anticipating rates and performance and all that. But Sam Merrill will get minutes. I think he and Hunter and Jared Allen to a slightly lesser extent, because he is like a full rotational guy. I think these are the guys whose minutes are the most secure. Hunter and Sam Merrill. Merrill's a good three-point shooter as well. The matchup versus Miami, I don't think particularly bad in that respect. Just make sure that's correct. And Miami limiting threes at a decent clip. They're allowing you to shoot a lot of threes. Opponents putting up 45 threes per game against Miami, but only hitting them at a 32% clip, which would be towards the bottom part of the league. I don't think that matters that much, though, for Sam Merrill, who should be a guy that gets shots up. He's been a 72% true shooter on the year, including 48% from three, putting up 8.4 three-point attempts per game. He and Hunter are the ones here that I think, if there's like a massive outlier game for Cleveland, those two be my guess, because number one, they should have the highest usage. Number two, they contribute a little bit in terms of peripherals. Merrill, assists. Hunter, rebounds, a little bit of assists, and theoretically more steals and blocks than he's had this year. But also they shoot so many threes, and if they hit those threes and they go in, that could be how Cleveland stays competitive, or these guys just hit a massive ceiling. So Sam Merrill, DeAndre Hunter, two guys I am big fans of on the slate, getting 55% Merrill and 87% Hunter right now, though those numbers will move. Bobby Portis cranked his projection up a little bit here. So for Milwaukee, the big issue for Bobby Portis lately has been that this is before he got hurt again, Mike. So that's what I was talking about. Lonzo got hurt and missed the game, and it's been down. So I don't know that he gets back up to those minutes before, but I think that's what Stokastic is looking at, that they think that's his minute max. Again, he missed the game for the knee injury, whatever the injury that he's had that's ongoing. I think it's a knee. He missed one game. Since then, he's been 22 or less. But he's been playing off the bench, so, that could be also why. For Bobby Portis, he's not the same player that he used to be when Giannis would be rolled out. You get Bobby Portis getting unencumbered run. He basically is still mostly Miles Turner's backup. But one change that's occurred for Milwaukee lately in the last couple games, and let me pull up the game flow for them here. No worries. I appreciate you trying to keep me honest about it. I'm just telling you why I view it the way I do. But yeah, so he did play that many minutes earlier in the year, but then missed the game. Then it went down. It's the little things in rotational stuff that can matter. Lonzo's not played really well this year, but it's also that I think he's going to get overplayed when they announce him as starter and then he ends up being capped at like 25 minutes. So it's kind of goes with both hands, but to me, it's important because like if you play Lonzo, fine. But if you don't play Lonzo, you should be trying to get more, I think, of Craig Porter Jr. of Proctor, because whatever, the 23 minutes that he doesn't play, there's another point guard out there. Then you also have the 2 guard minutes. Like that ends up mattering a lot in terms of what the minutes share is for those guys, what the projection ends up being for those guys, all of that. But also too, like if Lonzo starts and he's minutes limited and people don't realize it, then it can be a bit of a trap play if he gets really chalky. All right, so for Milwaukee here, last game, so we had Giannis in. Miles Turner is playing center alongside Giannis. Giannis comes out. They don't immediately go to Bobby Portis. They go to Kyle Kuzma. But then Bobby Portis plays alongside Miles Turner. So earlier in the year when Giannis was out, it was basically a thing where Miles Turner came out, Bobby Portis came in, Bobby Portis came out, Miles Turner came in. The fact that it's different now and they can play minutes together. They did it again here a little bit. Okay, so like Giannis comes back in. We then have one of Portis and Giannis together. Miles Turner's off. Then Giannis comes back out. They keep Bobby Portis in, which you could see here. And then Miles Turner is in. And then when Bobby Portis goes out, they go back to Giannis. It's not perfect overlap, but the fact that Bobby Portis is now viewed as a guy that can play alongside Miles Turner, I think is a positive here. And that's been the last couple games for Milwaukee. I'll spare you guys going through both of them. But I gave Bobby Portis 28 minutes for that reason. Gave Miles Turner 30 minutes. And this is my minutes here because Stokastic did not update for Giannis being out before the show. It was basically 10 minutes right before. So I did what the best I could was. I think really for Bobby Portis, the big thing is that he's probably not starting. I think the chances of him playing more minutes off the bench alongside Miles Turner are good. My guess is that you get a Kuzma start here, but that's not guaranteed. And it does seem like Milwaukee, or at least right now, Doc Rivers likes the Portis Turner lineups enough that he's playing them together, flirting with them a little bit more. The second half of that game, there was more minutes of those guys too playing together. I think for Portis, he might be back to being a good play again, but we'll see what Stokastic gives him. My guess would be they're going to give him probably like 25, 26 minutes. That'll make him come up a little bit, but not quite as much as I'm getting. But he wasn't in the player pool, so I only got him at 12% here. Fields at 1. Ryan Rollins, big stand for me here. I think he's going to become a very chalky play today. He has produced at a very good clip overall with Giannis, Lillard, etc. The guys who are no longer on Milwaukee off the team. Rollins has played 620 possessions, so a pretty good sample size. Averaged 1.15 fantasy points per minute without those guys. I think Rollins, to me, at 6,100 is probably your best Bucks player. There's no uncertainty here. Like, he can lose minutes to Cole Anthony if he plays hot off the bench. If Rollins gets in foul trouble as well, that same thing could affect him, though he's a guard, so should never get in that serious foul trouble. But Rollins here, I think, is your best Buck right now, and certainly him and Kuzma, I'm getting a lot of here. I'd much rather trust and play Ryan Rollins than I would Kyle Kuzma. Kuzma's just been dog shit mostly. Rollins, I think, is actually good. Kuzma, though, does play better when you take all the Bucks stars off the court. So again, same sample size with no Kevin Porter Jr., no Giannis, no Middleton, no Lillard. So going back to last year, I tried to get as much of a sample size as I could. We have seen Kuzma put up 23.5% usage, 10% rebound rate, 1.1 fantasy points per minute. Kuzma has been less dog shit when there's opportunity for him just to kind of be out there and not get the hook. So I think Kuzma is very much in play. I think he's going to start. Still think that getting groupings of these guys, mixing it up where you get Kuzma and Portis in one lineup, you get Portis and Turner in one lineup, you get Kuzma and Turner in one lineup. I think that's the move for today. But the Bucks, nobody really jumped out in a crazy way. Rollins, the closest, like jumping out majorly. And I gave really aggressive minutes to Portis, so I think that's why he looks better projected here. But my guess is when you get that more median projection-minded outcome from Stokastic, you're going to get Rollins looking really good. You're going to get Portis and Kuzma looking pretty good. Turner looking okay to pretty good. Like, that's what I expect here. It's going to be pretty flat. Rollins will be so good tonight. I hope so, but I also think he's going to be really chalky. I know it's super early. Wemby and Drew, or Şengün and Booker. It's hard to say. I mean, I like Wemby being your top pay up guy, and Drew projects the best for me out of all those guys, but it's hard. I don't really have a lean on it, to be honest. I think they're both good sides. Going to be a 450 plus night to win GPPs, potentially, if the value actually hits, which is another battle here. Jonas Valanciunas, late slate, top value for me. Miles Turner, another Buck we just talked about indirectly here, but the fact that he can play minutes with Portis, that's a good thing because it basically won't be a thing where you have to play max one of them. But for Miles Turner, I think for me, he does look the least good out of Portis, Rollins, and Kuzma in terms of the value metrics. And Drew Holiday, again, looks good to me here. Don't think the ownership's going to be quite as high now because of the way the slate's moving around, but Drew Holiday's still a good play. All right, guys, that was a long one here going by the top plays and the values. I did the best I could, and that's all I can ever promise you guys here Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. I do my work here as much as I possibly can to get ready, even if it means cramming 10 minutes here, rerunning a sim with the Bucks updates. I do it all for you guys here to give you the best shot I can at preparing you guys. So please do hit that like button. Please subscribe, guys. Goes a long way for me here. Just one dude showing you my gambling here on stream for the NBA. Same thing for NFL as well on my Splash Play Pod channel. But do support the show here. Hit that like button, subscribe. You guys have been great doing that on a regular basis, but we're moving up the charts here on YouTube. So help me out here. Let's keep growing this channel because I'm strapped in through the NBA Finals as best I can. Stokastic, 15% off as well. It does support the show when you buy any membership through that link down below or using the promo code SPLASH. Number one, you save 15% off, so that's the big thing for you. That's a deal you get in perpetuity, and also it's the only deal they have going. So for NBA, NFL, NHL, MMA, it's PGA going, whatever the fuck they have, it's all 15% off. So use that promo code over there. And that includes the cheap products, the expensive products. It all goes a long way here because half the money you pay to Stokastic comes back to me, and that's a big way I'm able to support the show and do what I'm doing here. And join the channel as well if you want to see all the stuff I show you here on screen, including my projections, but also the matchup screen here, the exportable version of my projections. Join the channel here and the Squirt Squad tiers, and you get access to that. And if you just want to support the show, the $5 goes a long way. You get access to my Discord for that as well. All right, there we go. And thank you for the kind chats. I appreciate this. You, the man, Spags. Listen every day at work. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you being here, and I hope it adds value. And do I like Hawkins tonight? Not particularly, but I think he's one of those plays that totally fine. If he spiked a tournament ceiling, it wouldn't shock me. There's so many higher priority plays in the slate. It's always hard to cape for a guy like Hawkins, but he's been playing well and clearly benefiting from Bam Adebayo not being out there. The rates, though, for him don't move enough for me to feel like he's an infinitely better play because of Bam and Hero being out. But clearly, you know, him, Wiggins, Norman Powell, like those guys were all competing for the ball, and Hawkins seems to be doing, you know, the most with it so far. All right, Milwaukee, I feel like we've talked enough about already, so I'm going to try to save some time here. But basically, starters important here. I expect Kuzma to start, expect Rollins to start, expect Turner to start. Gary Trent will also probably start. He looks the least good. But certainly here, when you have a Giannis out, you know, Kevin Porter Jr. too kind of matters to the math overall. You can go with whatever really you want from Milwaukee. You can make a case that they're all compelling tournament options. And really every guy who's in the Milwaukee rotation for me right now projects at over a 5.2x value. So play whatever bucks you want. To me, the tournament options that look the most likely to get super chalky are Rollins and Kuzma. But Turner should pick up some. I think Portis will pick up some and be compelling off the bench, especially if people are afraid to play him now because of the last times Giannis has been out and he hasn't had the big upside. Charlotte, 113 implied points here. Miles Bridges, I was getting at 12% before. All the stuff has moved around so meaningfully. I think Bridges not a bad play here, does gain a good amount. In terms of opportunity historically, without LaMelo and without Brandon Miller, both guys still out here. If Sexton were out, though, that'd be the big thing that would make my projections jump a lot more from Miles Bridges. Knipple's been playing really well, rebounding, getting points up. He does take possessions away from Miles Bridges in a way that I'm personally, like, he's not my son. I'm proud of him, though, for not letting Miles Bridges bully him around, because he does, like, that's what Bridges does whenever the Hornets guys are all out, including last year. He just takes the ball from guys, takes every possession, like, in the most literal sense. Knipple, though, will grab it, will not even look Bridges' way. I love it for him. But Knipple, I do think, has been spiking a little bit too meaningfully lately. I think he's a little bit overpriced as well at 6,600. Certainly can see the case why the field wants to play Knipple at 22%. I do think with the way the slate's moving, though, a guy like Knipple in a spot, you know, where Milwaukee probably not going to be the highest total here in the world. The total's moved down significantly since Giannis got ruled out. I don't know that you want to be with a chalky Knipple if that holds. There's going to be better value plays that have opened up. It is an odd. Well, his brother too was visiting some college I saw, and his brother's also got a stupid K name. But yeah, the Knipple's stupid name, but it's not spelled like nipple, I guess. So, you know, they can own that. And honestly, Knipple, like, I would judge the shit out of him just looking at him. But like, he's balling out in a way that I did not think he was going to do in his first year here, let alone his first like month of playing, you know, real games. Only 6,200 on FanDuel. Well, you lose a 3-point bonus too, but sure. Yeah, I don't know. I think you've kind of seen the ceiling from him. I'd probably jump off the train today, but if I get him in lineups, I'm not going to like kick him out. Chicago, 118.5 implied points. Detroit, 117 on their side. This is another one here that should move meaningfully if we do officially get Cade and Duren out. Giddey being out too would certainly hurt things for Chicago, but it would make Trey Jones playable. It would make Vucevic more playable. It would make Kevin Huerter look playable. As it is right now, though, the Bulls to me not a priority team even a little bit. It's only going to get worse when there is more stuff moving around. Milwaukee starters get solidified. If Detroit loses Cade and Duren. Chicago, I think, a little bit of a forgotten team. I think they need Giddey out to become a more viable play on the slate. And then they will be, because like Trey Jones will look great, I think. Herder will look pretty good. Vucevic will look better. And the match for Vucevic, too, if Duren and Cade is out, and you get Giddey out, like he's in a great matchup and also gains usage and assist upside. Like, might be one of those rare Vucevic triple-double days if you do get Giddey and Cade and Duren out. Detroit on their side, 117 implied as of right now. Cade was not coming up a lot for me here. Certainly, if he were to play at this point, I would try to boost the ownership a little bit more to reflect just pay-up option on a slate where Giannis has been ruled out. But I think Cade's not going to play. I don't think Duren's going to play either. These guys missing shoot-around is usually a big enough tell for them not going. But if they go, Duren looks like a really good play to me. If Duren were to play and Cade were out, Duren would look like an even better play. But certainly Detroit now at risk of just kind of falling apart at, the total's really high though. And it didn't move that much even with Cade and Duren being downgraded, or Duren being downgraded and Cade being questionable. For Detroit, though, if those guys are out, you're going to get guys like Duncan Robinson, Karis LeVert looking better. The longer-term sample size for Robinson and LeVert's going to look a lot better than how they've played for Detroit this year. Duncan Robinson, despite shooting well, only 0.6 fantasy points a minute. He's barely getting shots up. Karis LeVert getting a little bit more usage, a little bit more assist upside, but only 0.7 fantasy points a minute. These are the two guys that you would think step into real roles right away. That said, we've had Tobias Harris out, Asar Thompson out. They haven't really done a whole lot more to feel good about it. So I think for Duncan Robinson and LeVert, you get Cade and Duren out, the projections will move towards them. Do I trust them? No, not particularly. Ron Holland, the chalk mega bust last time out, going back his way today would not be a crazy thing to do. Buying when there's blood in the streets after a guy massacred the field, never a bad idea here. But certainly if Cade and Duren are out, the projection's going to come up enough that it'll probably look like a good play anyway. And if he doesn't play like last game, you'd probably see Dennis Jenkins get more minutes. He went nuts, I believe scored 25 real life points in that game for Detroit. Played all the way through overtime as well. Jenkins, not a very fun play, but if Cade Cunningham is out, I think he'll probably come up a little bit. He's been shooting pretty well at 61% true shooting to start the year too. Javonte Green, minutes going to be up for him as well. He'll look better if Cade and Duren are out. Paul Reed is a really important one. If Duren is out, Paul Reed is smash chalk at 3,900. He's producing 1.27 fantasy points per minute. Duren's leaving behind a role where he's been putting up 1.4. You don't have Isaiah Stewart today. It's a really good spot for Paul Reed if we do get Duren out, let alone Duren and Cade. If you don't play Paul Reed, I would consider Tolu Smith, who has this very gaudy 2.9 fantasy points a minute on the year. 2.3 fantasy points a minute would be the sample size going back to last year. Tolu Smith, it's a fucking mess, guys. It's really, but knowing Cade and Duren being out, most important thing on the slate right now. The 4,800 range or 4.8K range to fill the last spot has me stumped. You need to know who's starting. Like, there's really no point thinking about it right now. You need to know what Duren and Cade are doing today. You need to know any other last-minute guys ruled out. Memphis, if Ja Morant's ruled out, it's going to make Coward come up. It's going to make things all look different. Don't think about, like, I know it's fun to tinker with stuff, and I'll do it too sometimes. I'll run my sims. I'll run my projections. Don't think about lineups at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Like, wait until you get more info because you want to know as many parts of the puzzle. And frankly, a large flaw for a lot of the field, even at this point where NBA, I think it's the sharpest DFS sport and has the most pros playing it on a nightly basis at high volume. Like, people don't swap as they get more info as the night goes on. They don't like to change their lineup when you get new starters out at 6:45 and stuff like that. It's really important to do those things in NBA DFS because those little bits of an edge are all the edge you will ever find in NBA DFS. So I appreciate you thinking about it. And I'm sorry I'm not answering your question better, but it's like, it's a million things that are going to move around in the next 4 hours before lock, 4 hours and change. LeVert might go nuclear. The projections are all going to be like meaningfully different when we get a few more guys out, which seems that like an inevitability. Orlando, Jalen Suggs looks like great chalk right now. And then if you're in this range, Suggs would be the one you definitely want here. 44% expected ownership here before all this value opened up. I got him at 53. I think Suggs will hold is still a good value. I think Stokastic's minutes 25.8 feel a little bit light here. Should be a competitive game. And if he is a competitive game, he might play just shy of 29 minutes like he did last game. But Suggs being back in, don't think you want the other Magic because they're kind of priced for Suggs not being in, which he's not in on back-to-backs these days for Orlando. Banchero, still a tournament ceiling. Wagner theoretically has one. Bane, cheap enough that at a certain point, again, he will shoot better than the 53% true shooting he has. But, Suggs is here. I think if you don't play Suggs, thinking that Bane maybe gets a little more shots up, gets a little more usage and assist upside, I think that's one way to fade Suggs potentially. New York on their side, I'm getting nothing here. If Mitchell Robinson is in, he looked like an okay value play. But if you get Paul Reed starting for Detroit, that's going to be completely gone. But Mitchell Robinson reducing on rebounding at a pretty good clip. Only 1% ownership here. Not a lot to love. All the injuries, starting lineup news will come in the early games too. So late swap leverage not going to be the greatest tonight. True, but there could be some that hang around. I mean, when is Memphis? Memphis is 7:32. Yeah, you would need like a late minute rule out for Washington, something like that. But I'm with you. I think that's fair. But definitely still, you want to know Detroit more than anything. Like that is number one here. I'm not saying anything you don't know, but I have to keep saying it for the people that need to hear that more frequently. Cleveland, 116.5 implied points here. You've got Mitchell out. You've got Garland out. You've got Evan Mobley out as well. So that's your three top usage guys. All unavailable here. No Ty Jerome anymore as well. So that free square is gone. I think the free square now is unfortunately DeAndre Hunter. That's why he's in the thumbnail. He's 6,500 though. I get people might not want to be there. The field though is expected to be 32% owned. I got him 87. The Bucks guys alone are going to move me off Hunter a little bit more, but he's still going to be a play that makes a lot of lineups for me. He's put up 26% usage this year in court time with the actual Cavs starters. The number goes a lot higher when those guys are unavailable. So DeAndre Hunter to me is a play I'll be trusting here and hoping that he plays like he has so far this year, which is that he guns whenever he can. And he did last year too for the Hawks. He just stopped doing it when he got traded because I think they just brought him in for 3-and-D and he kind of accepted that initially, but not the case now for DeAndre Hunter. Jared Allen, I'm low on him right now, 58% for the field. I got 34. My projection is also about 6 fantasy points lower, so that's part of the reason why. Jared Allen has produced pretty well without the key Cavs, but he doesn't gain a significant rate boost. So those usually aren't guys that take a big jump up for me because of players being out. But Jared Allen's averaged 1.3 fantasy points a minute along with 22% usage, 16% rebound rate. He's been good. So I don't have any issue with the field owning Jared Allen a lot. I just don't think he looks as good for me here, even though it does project for 1.16 fantasy points a minute here for me today. Lonzo Ball projects to have 36% ownership. Things will move around a little bit because of Giannis being ruled out and whatever happens with Detroit. But Lonzo, I do think, has potential to be a trap here. Stokastic gives him 26.5 minutes. Hurt his knee a couple games ago. Has not played over 22 minutes since. I think that it's a risk to assume that he plays 25, 26, 27. And even then, like there might be guys in this slate who are cheaper who play 30 plus. So I'm not sold that Lonzo is great chalk. He's also been playing terribly to start the year. He's going to shoot better than 42% true shooting, but he's barely shooting, not shooting well. Assists are not as high as they've been historically. He's not producing super well fantasy point per minute because he's not rebounding terribly well either. I think Lonzo people might plunk in. He's not old Lonzo right now, at least with what he's shown so far in Cleveland this year. Sam Merrill, to me, again, feels like one of the safer Cleveland plays alongside DeAndre Hunter. The only way these guys don't get on the court a lot of minutes is if Cleveland gets blown out. And I do think if you fade the Cleveland chalk tonight, same thing we talked about yesterday, though it really didn't work out that well because Brooklyn had 2 guys make it. With how owned Claxton and Michael Porter Jr. were, my thought was like, all right, well, boost up the Raptors if you're not going to play those guys. What ended up winning was, I think, quickly with the net stack. I think at least in the top 100K tournament, it was quickly with Michael Porter Jr., Claxton, and then Clowney also on top. So even though Porter Jr. didn't hit his projection, like capturing that game environment mattered enough. I think just boosting a Miami guy alongside the Cleveland chalk would be kind of a similar concept. It is a bigger slate, but whenever you see like a lot of ownership here for a bunch of guys, just trying to take an opponent with it is sometimes enough to get you unique. The issue is like nobody projects terribly well on Miami, but a lot of guys 4.8x value for Hawkes, 4.8x for Powell, 4.9 for Ware, 5 for Mitchell. One of these guys hitting alongside the Cleveland chalk just usually makes sense in NBA DFS more than it does projection-wise. Merrill's 16 shots look awesome, making 4 not so much. It doesn't matter. You care about the guy getting shots up. And Merrill, again, has shot 72% true shooting on the year. So you probably saw the negative regression happening in real time. But the hope would be that for today, he keeps the positive side going. And we talked enough about the Cleveland guards up top, but Proctor in play, especially if he were to start, he'd be very in play. Porter Jr. also in play. But if Lonzo starts, those guys both off the bench, it does become kind of a squint play. You don't really want to push him in a ton of lineups. I think getting 10% of Proctor, getting 10% of Porter Jr. would be logical to me if Lonzo Ball does end up being very chalky on the slate like it seems like he'll be. Memphis, Ja Morant, Q-tag. If he is out, everything's going to look better. Jaren Jackson, weird thing that I talked about with Josh yesterday on the Stokastic deeper dive. He's just not getting shots up, 22.7% usage rate. He's shooting well at 62% true shooting. I think getting Morant out would help Jaren Jackson push his usage up a little bit more, but he's barely rebounding. He's not getting as many blocks. He doesn't create assists. Jaren Jackson's kind of standing around out there. So really to me for Memphis, if Ja Morant's in, I don't think you want anybody. Maybe Ja at 8,200. If Ja Morant's out, these guys all look better here. And I think Coward becomes playable. Aldama becomes more playable. Jaren Jackson, close to playable. Cam Spencer could start, but more likely it's Jalen Wells starting. Cam Spencer, Vince Williams playing some lead ball handler off the bench. But Ja's situation is, again, another really important one. And that is, what was that, an 8 o'clock? That one's 7:30. 7:30. I keep forgetting that's 7:30. Memphis, Boston, 7:30 start time. So after some of the early games we need, but still in that first window of games, you need to know Ja Morant's status. Boston, mostly bad plays here yesterday, and particularly chalky Peyton Pritchard. Derek White had the good fantasy day, a relatively good fantasy day, but still not shooting much better overall at 45% true shooting on the year. Boston here, I think in a good total spot. The back-to-back never makes you feel that good, but playing Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, all of them at their price tag seems fine. Pritchard being terrible yesterday also opened the door for Anthony Simons to be a little bit less terrible. I think he put up 30 fantasy points. Boston, not a super exciting team today, but Brown, White, Pritchard all project well enough, and they are still playing so low compared to how they did last year that at a certain point you do expect them to play better. Golden State, not on my radar at all for ownership. If Kuminga's out, maybe I get some of these guys a little bit more. Moses Moody, even probably not. I think it would mostly help Butler and Curry look less egregiously bad. But basically, Golden State right now, number one, they're not playing super well. Number two, their price for Steph Curry being out. So these guys, to me, not really strong plays today, and I don't know how you'd get there with all the actual value we have. San Antonio, Wemby will get played now because of not having Giannis, and if we don't have Cade as well, that gets even easier to do. Stephon Castle still looks like the best play to me. He's held on to his usage pretty well with De'Aaron Fox re-entering the lineup. But Fox, Castle, they take enough usage away for Wemby that nobody looks great here. Fox played a lot of minutes, though, lately. So for that San Antonio, decent total. You definitely can go here if you want. Draymond and Butler, I don't know if they actually did call out Kuminga, but yeah, they said like we need to play winning ball more, but it might have also been Draymond indirectly calling out Butler. Draymond also left a comment on that guy, Kevin O'Connor, who used to work for The Ringer. I saw on Instagram where he left the comment being like, who said I was talking about young guys? Because I think O'Connor had thought that it was like them talking about Brandon Pajemski, because Pajemski also had some dumb quote lately that I made fun of on stream. I've heard him saying he wants to be as good as Steph Curry. So they just have a lot of issues right now. I don't know, man. The Golden State, I'm tired of the Draymond shit personally, but you know, they'll figure it out, I'm sure, as they always do at some point. Might be time for players only meetings though. Portland, Drew Holiday looks good to me right now. It's going to change because of the Bucks stuff. I think that Ryan Rollins going to take a good amount of my Drew Holiday ownership away. That said, Drew Holiday playing well in the year, creating a lot of assists, 1.1 fantasy points a minute. He's been a much better version of himself compared to the Boston, a shell that he was giving himself up for a 3-and-D basically. Denny Avdia, Fields playing a decent amount right now. That'll probably move around because of Milwaukee, and also if we get the Detroit guys out. But not a bad total for Portland. They're playing New Orleans, one of the worst defenses in basketball. Tournament options for Portland, I think not bad. God, that would be fucking introduce the dynamite to a match, I guess. But Draymond to Memphis. Sure. Him and Ja. He's going to get into guns in Memphis. That would be great for everybody. New Orleans, 110.5 implied points. Trey Murphy looks the best here. He's gained the most usage overall from not having Jordan Poole and Zion out. Trey Murphy also, we've seen spike a little bit lately with the 41-point day he had. I think Trey Murphy is a single-digit own play. Compelling to me overall, but on this slate, I think New Orleans, nobody's going to care much about with all the value opening up. Jeremiah Fears closing games. Also, finally playing some minutes alongside Jose Alvarado, so he's not always a threat to lose minutes to Alvarado. Fears not a super exciting play, but I think with his ownership here, it's going to come down a good amount. I think there's something to DFS sometimes and just like not playing all the value and sticking with what was the previous value before a bunch of teams got ruled out, basically. Fears is one of those guys where like he would have been played a decent amount. Now with like a lot better value options opening up, people won't get to Fears. But Fears' role is evolving into something sustainable. So I like Fears. He's not a good shooter, but he does stuff out there. He hustles, grabs some rebounds, gets some steals. And if the shot ever falls for him, he will put up like a 50 fantasy point day. Do you think for him though, you need it to be down to like the no Trey Murphy, no Zion, like you need all the Pelicans to not be in to really hit the upside. Washington getting Alex Sarr 2x the field. Again, I think he's a nice tournament pivot from Şengün's ownership, probably coming up a little bit here. But Washington, not a super fun team for me. I've not been on the McCollum renaissance. He has spiked his usage and his upside lately. Keyshawn George going down here, even though he's shooting really well still. He's just getting lost in the sauce, playing more defense because you have guys like McCollum, like Trey Johnson getting shots up more around him. I think it's Sarr or bust here for Washington. Not the most exciting game on that side. For Houston, Şengün going against Washington fits all the game theory stuff we would think about. Shitty defense, pace up spot as well. Şengün, certainly the risk is that Houston could really kick their ass, but Washington hangs in games enough. I'm not, that's not the part that worries me about Şengün. What would worry me about Şengün would really be that I think he's going to pick up a ton of ownership because of the matchup, because of the team total, and because of the fact we have less guys to pay up for. So Şengün at 17% owned, happy to be with the field there. He's going to probably get, in my estimation, like 25, 30, and that's where we're getting a little bit lofty. But maybe not if like all the values at center. Like I think if you get Duren out, you'll probably see a lot of Duren or a lot of Paul Reed, Şengün lineups, but you might get like one more center out, one more play that opens up, and maybe you don't get Şengün as much because people have to play two other centers. It's a possibility. Amin Thompson, pace up spot versus Washington, team that could turn the ball over a lot. I think it's a good Amin Thompson tournament situation. 8,100 for him though on the slate. Does feel a little bit tough to get to. Kevin Durant, not really for me. Tari Eason, not really on the slate for me. You'll have a lot better values opening up. Phoenix, I've got nobody, so let's make up some time here because we have spent way too much time on this part of the video. Though the Stokastic sim, I'm not sure how helpful it's going to be if they haven't updated yet. They have not updated yet. Dallas side of the equation, nothing really for me here. If Ant gets ruled out, Anthony Davis, that is, trade rumors starting to swirl around him a little bit more with Nico Harrison getting fired. If Ant were ruled out, I think you get PJ Washington a little bit here. But Russell's minutes are gone. There's apparently in one of the Nico Harrison firing columns, there was talk about Dallas's minutes lately and how Kidd playing Brandon Williams was somehow a fuck you to Nico Harrison in that process. Brandon Williams started last game. Russell got to 16 off the bench. Brandon Williams played 33. Yeah, I don't know. I still wouldn't trust Brandon Williams on the slate. Like they're getting him a 25.5 projection. And it does feel like if D'Angelo Russell played better, he would get out there. But Dallas is just a fucking mess like right now. And if Davis is in, I just don't want any part of it. AD looked pudgy in recent photos he's been eating. Well, who amongst us, who could judge this time of year? But whatever, man. AD is a man of questionable motivations, and I don't think they're ebbing in the right way right now. Lakers here, not even in my data set. Oh, because I fucked it up with OKC. Well, they're not on the main slate anyway, right? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Fuck it. Fuck you, late slate people. It may shocking here. I've Luka projected well. OKC, I would need to see like a SGA or something ruled out for it to matter, but that's my bad. Basically what happens when I pull in Vegas odds, it comes in as Oklahoma City, and I have to change to Oklahoma City manually. But because I didn't do that, it didn't import correctly, so that's my bad. I'll just fucking pull it in real fast. I hate not showing you guys everything here. including bare butt, dick and balls. All right, here we go. It's updating. It's updating. Come on. We got it. All right, so you can see here, I've got Luka for 58, Austin Reeves for 44. OKC, I've got SGA for 49. Nobody a priority play here unless you get OKC rolling some guys out in a back-to-back, which I think is a possibility here. Atlanta, Porzingis looks good to me still, though he has been fucking trapping me in a lot of slates. Sacramento looks nothing that great here. A lot of trade rumors throwing around them as well. Really seems like the only one who's playing on a nightly basis is Russell Westbrook. But he's 8,200 in the late slate, so I don't think you want to be there unless you get guys out. And Jokic looks great. Jamal Murray playable. Joe Val's value looks okay. Harden, Zubac, Collins, Dunn all looking okay. Collins starting for Kawhi out. That helps. That's how the slate looks, guys. So let's go to Stokastic, last stage of our journey here. This is not going to be as helpful as it could be because they have not updated their data yet. I was really going slow here, hoping that they would update in the 2 p.m. hour. They have not. So watch their shows. I'm not on them today, but watch Stokastic later today. We're going to build a pool of lineups here, and we're just going to run it as is, I guess. I'll knock Giannis out, maybe. We'll do it that way. In terms of talent, still don't think Luka for AD is the worst trade ever. I think Josh said it right on Stokastic's show this morning, which is always a great watch if you guys have 3 hours to watch a guy do projections in the morning. He was talking about how, like, the biggest issue, which I think is correct, it's not that they traded Luka for AD, it's that they didn't get, like, the full war chest of draft picks with it. And I think that's, like, the biggest issue. It's like, it's not the star for star trade. It's giving up a younger star who had just taken you to the finals and not getting enough for it. But you know, what are you going to do? I'm going to knock Giannis to 0 just so we don't get him in. And I'll leave the Bucks as they are, which means they won't come up as much. But we'll get a read on what Stokastic liked before the stuff updates. And maybe that'll be helpful for you guys. But we'll do it fast because, again, I really want to give you guys the updated stuff, but I can't. But check out my data. It will be updated later today. I'll even post it in the Discord when there is an update for Stokastic data, and I can tell you guys a read on it. But shout out to all you guys watching here. It's probably a record number of live viewers, just shy of 350, including YouTube and Twitter. So please hit that like button. Please subscribe, guys. I do this work Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. every day. Of course, Wednesdays for you guys and for me as well. It's the main events of the week because we got our cheap tournament on DraftKings, the 100K up top. But NBA, always fun to play, I think in particular, on the days where we don't have NFL. So show up here, join in my process where I show you guys my data compared to Stokastics, talk about all the underlying stuff, the usage, the assist rate, fantasy production, how I make my data, and you can do whatever you want with it. And that's hopefully the fun of the video. And yeah, and also check out Stokastic too. All their stuff's going to update. Get 15% off, promo code SPLASH over there right now. Link in the description on YouTube as well. We'll take you over there, but you get 15% off all the data, the cheap stuff, the expensive stuff, and it does support the show when you do that by clicking that link down in the description on YouTube or actually in the bio on Twitter too if you want. Click the link and you get 15% off. All right. Top ROI lineup before all the Milwaukee stuff changed and we took out Giannis. Cade Cunningham, Lonzo Ball makes it. DeAndre Hunter makes it, my boy, in this lineup. Larry Nance makes it. He feels like one of the flimsier Cavs plays, but there is a lot of minutes to go around with Mobley being added to the group of people out. Jared Allen, Jalen Suggs, Kevin Durant, Jeremiah Fears. This stuff is going to move, but that's not a bad lineup still, assuming that Cade does play. Number 2, Jalen Suggs, Sam Merrill, DeAndre Hunter, Cavs value popping up a lot. Ron Holland makes it, and this is with Cade Cunningham and Duren assumed in. Duren makes it, Cade makes it, Larry Nance makes it again, and Jared Allen makes it. Number 3, Jalen Suggs again, Sam Merrill again, DeAndre Hunter again, Larry Nance again, Jalen Duren again. Josh Giddey makes this one. Cedric Coward, who would become a much better play if John Morant's out, he makes it, and then Jared Allen makes it again. A lot of Duren and Jared Allen in these lineups, so got to think Allen's going to hold Jalen Duren if he doesn't play. He will not. Number 4, Cade Cunningham, Sam Merrill, DeAndre Hunter, Larry Nance, Jalen Duren, Jalen Suggs, Tari Eason, Jared Allen. First Tari Eason showing. And at number 5, Jalen Suggs, Lonzo Ball, Pele Larson. The Pele Larsons of the slate, I think, will be the first thing that disappears when more value opens up for Milwaukee and potentially for Detroit. Miles Bridges here, Jared Allen, Peyton Pritchard, after he was so bad as chalk last night. Going back there again will feel uncomfortable, but it might pay off. Larry Nance makes it. Victor Wembanyama makes it at number 5. Overall, the highest ROI guys with just taking Giannis out of the player pool, but none of the other updates in Stokastic's data yet. We got Wemby at 23% ROI, Cade Cunningham at 17, Miles Bridges 13, Jaylen Brown 10, Şengün 7. So it's really just you're trying to find a ceiling from one of the pay up options here. So Stokastic thought, at least in the sim again, before the Milwaukee updates and whatever happens with the trade, basically my read on this would be that it thinks the Cleveland value is so good that you just want to rotate high dollar options around it and capture a ceiling from whoever puts up 50, 60, 70. I imagine it's only going to get more pronounced when you get even more value opening up because of Milwaukee and potentially because of Detroit. But Jaylen Brown, Şengün, Giddey, John Morant, Larry Nance is a positive ROI, one of very few value guys with a positive ROI. Kevin Durant, 0.8. Deni Avdija, 0.6. Cedric Coward. A lot of positive ROIs here. That's probably something to do with the data not being updated as well. And then top 150 we'll go through incredibly fast because it's going to move around so much. Jared Allen, you were getting 87% of. That is 30% leverage on the field. Sam Merrill, you're getting 71% of. That is 12% more in the field's already incredibly high. 58% ownership. Jalen Suggs, 66%. He is still a good play even with the value opening up. Suggs plus Ryan Rollins, I think it's going to be how a lot of point guard / guard lineups look. DeAndre Hunter, 57% exposure, Fields at 61. He might be the most squeezed by the Bucks stuff because his price tag's around that range, but I will still be playing Hunter a lot today. He has been gunning this year in a way that I don't think people have caught up with yet. And Lonzo Ball, Stokastic trusting it here. They did give him 27 minutes though, which might be just a hair high. 55% exposure for Lonzo Ball, Fields at 36. If you're going to be that highly owned in a Stokastic sim, I would just roll the dice, playing a little bit more Craig Porter Jr., a little bit more Tyrese Proctor. Larry Nance, you're getting at 36% leverage. He's in 47% of these lineups. Power forward center helps him out a lot, and he might still be a good play. He and Paul Reed, if you get Duren out, might be your two value plays you get a lot of. Again, if you do get Duren out. Jared Allen, we've seen him already. DeAndre Hunter, Suggs, Lonzo, we've seen him. And biggest fades for all these updates, Dean Wade, Craig Porter Jr., Tyrese Proctor. So they're fading the cheap Cavs. So it really comes down to Stokastic thinks that Lonzo plays a lot, and they think the value guys don't. Deni Avdija, negative leverage, negative 7% for him. That's probably going to go down even further, I would guess. It's weird because he had a positive ROI, but they're still fading him. And Javonte Green, our better Piston last night when Ron Holland failed. He is barely being played as well, though that will change if you get Cade out and Duren out. So that's the slate, guys. It's been a lot of fun here. I'm going to give you guys my splash plays for the day, which will, for me, account for everything as best I can. Before I do that, though, please do one more time. Hit that like button. Subscribe. Goes a long way for me here. I'm also really hoping that the audio and video is in sync. I'm not sure if that's the case, but it feels like it, so it's closer if nothing else. Check out Stokastic too, 15% off, link in the description, promo code SPLASH. Does support the show here. Half the money you pay to Stokastic comes back to me. Would love to keep my momentum going after a really nice month in October, so I can keep growing this channel, keep growing what I'm doing with NBA and NFL, maybe even MLB. So please join Stokastic, use that promo code SPLASH, and get half off. And join the channel as well, $5 if you just want to support the show. And if you want all my data here, including the stuff I show you on screen, my projections, and some of the key stats, you get that for yourself by joining one of the Squirt Squad tiers down below. All right, splash plays today. Ryan Rollins now, I think, has to be one. I don't think that's going to change no matter what happens with the Bucks starting lineup. DeAndre Hunter, he was on the thumbnail for a reason. He'll keep being one. I still like Suggs. I like Sam Merrill. That's going to hold. I do think Kuzma is an appealing buck with Giannis out, though. Would love to get another read on Stokastic's data before I fully commit to that. If Duren's in, I like him. If Duren is out, Paul Reed is another one that I would put into every lineup immediately, or, every lineup and then play Tolu Smith and every lineup, besides a few. Like, basically play Paul Reed if Duren is out, but then if you're not playing Paul Reed, then consider the backup in like a few lineups. That's it, man. There's a lot of value on today's slate. Portis Turner still in play for me as well, though they don't look as quite a good of a value as Kyle Kuzma does. But it's going to be an important one. Watch the deeper dive on Stokastic later today. I'm not on it, but watch it with Josh and DK. They do a good job. I think it's Greg and Eric back on Live Before Lock too. So check out those shows. Make sure to gamble responsibly, guys, especially with this NBA NFL crossover period, because it can catch up with you fast. And I know it for myself, for you guys as well. Very important to think about it, but it is still always money time here. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow this channel on YouTube at Splash Play Bets, on Twitter at Splash Play Pod. And I'll be back with you guys tomorrow at 2 p.m. So let's hope it is a leisurely one, because tomorrow's an NFL day. But I appreciate you guys being here. Discord guys, people who are paying for the data, stay tuned for updates, because it'll be coming as much as I possibly can. Whenever Stokastic updates their minutes, I'll give you guys one more look at it. But I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck. And bye-bye, and pray for us all. All right, see you guys.